You're watching the TC MMA podcast.
Now, as we move forward into fight number 4, it only gets better as you go up the card. This is going to be a middleweight fight between Ateba Gautier, 5-1, taking on the undefeated Yura Naito. He's 6-0. This is Cameroon versus Japan. And the middleweight division, like the bantamweight, middleweight's number 2 right now. They got 4 fighters already in. I think in both of these first 2 fights, you got to get a finish to get in. But let's get into this one right now. In the middleweight division at Dana White's Contender Series, you got Yura Naito taking on Ateba Gautier. Naito, I think that's how you say it anyway. He's 6-0, right? He's got 3 KOs, 2 submissions in those 6 wins. He's 6 feet tall. He's just 28 years old. His opponent is 5-1. Listed at 135 pounds, that can't be right, but he's fighting out of Cameroon. In his 5 wins, he's got 4 KOs, 1 decision, and he did lose once by decision to Glenn Williams back in 2022, but since then he's won 4 in a row. Naito, on the other hand, again, has never lost. He's fighting out of Pancrase, which sounds like a regional promotion. He's been there since the beginning, and he's won all 5 fights. So this is a tough one to predict. I mean, at least his opponent, I mean, he did lose, but he did fight at Titan FC 82 and won by KO. Other than that, these guys are fighting in some very small, I don't want to say weak promotions because I don't know much about them, but I've never heard of them. So that tells me that they're somewhat smaller than most of the other fighters on this card who are fighting out of like LFA and Cage Fury and, you know, things like that, places you heard of. These guys are fighting in smaller promotions. So they're both going to need a big finish in order to move into the UFC. But I'm going to lean towards the Japanese Yura Naito because he's undefeated. 3 KOs, 2 submissions, 1 decision, never lost. His opponent, Gautier, did lose against a guy we never heard of. So that's concerning. Not to say Naito wouldn't have lost to the same guy. But the Japanese fighter seems like he's at the right stage in life. He's 28 years old. He's a solid 6 feet tall. He's going to be a big middleweight. And that tells me that he's likely to win this fight. Now, when you look at Gautier, this guy is huge too, right? He's like a middleweight version of Francis Ngannou when you see his picture. So this guy's going to be ripped up and very capable of winning, but I need to see more to make a prediction for him. Yura Naito just seems like he's rolling right now, and you know, it could be a tough fight, but I like him to grind out a victory. It might be by decision, not enough to get you in the UFC. But either way, Yura Naito wins his fight, remains undefeated, moves to 7-0 here, middleweight division, Dana White's Contender Series. So again, another fight that leads to a very tough prediction because the fighters are new. You got a 5-1 versus 6-0. There's not a lot to go off of. You got to make a decision. And in this case, you know, we're going to go with the undefeated fighter, but I am concerned with the size of Gautier. Of course, when they stand face to face, it'll be a little, you know, the pictures could trick you. But there's no doubt Gautier is a big dude. And maybe I'll pay for this prediction, but luckily Naito is a slight favorite here.
He's gon' fight, he's gon' fight, hold your breath till the end of the night. Last fighter call, UFC at its height, bringing that thunder with all his might, saying step up, wanna fight, hold up, think twice, gladiator, assassin, reckless, no abandon, walk through that cage, he'll leave your ass